Chapter 21. The Shadow's Signature. Speculating on the Void. The chilling hum of Kalen Rourke's precognition, echoed by the collective unease of the gifted, reverberated through the highest echelons of the human galactic authority, HGA. While the Angel Fleet maintained its iron grip on their home galaxy, a new, far more profound terror gripped the minds of its architects. Dr. Aris Thorne's deepest research labs, nestled beneath Earth's mantle, became the crucible where humanity sought to decipher the whisper from beyond the void. Thorne, his face etched with relentless concentration, stood before a massive holographic projection displaying the raw data from Perimeter Alpha 7. The faint rhythmic gravimetric ripple pulsed, a haunting heartbeat in the otherwise silent expanse of the intergalactic gulf. Next to it, Archangel's core intelligence projected intricate comparative analyses, attempting to match the anomaly against every known cosmic phenomenon, every alien energy signature, every theoretical physics model. It defies classification, Doctor. Archangel's voice resonated, a perfectly calibrated blend of analytical precision and subtle digital unease. The gravimetric periodicity suggests deliberate manipulation of space-time, but the energy expenditure is negligible, almost 0 point. It is as if the phenomenon moves without cost. And the digital silence that Commander Petrova detected, a localized erasure of background cosmological information, is equally perplexing. It is not interference. It is absence. Thorne adjusted a filter on the display, highlighting minute distortions within the ripple. An entropy wave, he murmured, recalling Archangel's initial assessment. Something that consumes order. But how? Is it a form of life that feeds on structured reality, a self-propagating technological construct, or a natural cosmic event that merely appears intelligent because its fundamental properties defy our understanding? The Inner Quintet joined Thorne in his lab, their faces grimly illuminated by the pulsing holograms. Jian Li's gaze was fixed on the data, her strategic mind already trying to formulate defenses against an enemy that might not even be an enemy, but a cosmic force. If it's consuming information, consuming order, she began, then its objective might not be conquest, but fundamental alteration. Can we even communicate with such an entity? Communication implies shared frameworks, Admiral, Maeve O'Connell interjected, her empathy strained by the sheer alienness of the perceived presence. This nullity Kalen feels. It's beyond hostile intent. It's beyond emotion. It's an absence of the very concepts we use to define life or conflict. She saw the terror in Kalen's eyes, not from a physical threat, but from the existential horror of encountering something so utterly outside of human comprehension. My personal simulations of void-folding FTL drives still encounter catastrophic energy feedback at intergalactic distances, Thorne explained, gesturing to another projection. But this ripple, its source is far deeper into the void than we've even reached. If this is a propulsion system, their technological advancement in that field is centuries beyond our current Angel Fleet, and likely beyond even our next generation prototypes. General Armitage clenched his jaw. A force that doesn't leave a trail, that doesn't register on our sensors, that operates on unknown principles. How do you plan against a ghost, Doctor? His mind, accustomed to defining and neutralizing threats, found itself grappling with a shapeless nightmare. It might not even be a force in the traditional sense, General, Thorne theorized, pushing past his own apprehension. Kalen's consumption sensation, Marco's digital silence. What if it's not a ship, but a bubble of altered reality, or a localized breakdown of physical laws, propagating across the void? An anti-reality. Ambassador Valerius, the master of galactic diplomacy, found himself with no words. All his intricate understanding of alien motivations, their desires for power, resources, or ideological dominance, was utterly useless against a threat that seemed to operate on a different plane of existence. Diplomacy required common ground, and this entity offered none. Archangel, ever the logical arbiter, projected the current threat assessment. Based on current trajectory extrapolation and perceived rate of propagation, the gravimetric ripple will impact the outer rim of this galaxy within approximately 3 galactic cycles. The digital silence is expanding at a slightly faster rate, suggesting a vanguard effect. Proposed countermeasures remain speculative due to insufficient data. Kansan slashai, she's sussifieds. Codcon gaze hardened, the grim resolve from Chapter 75 returning. Speculation or not, we prepare. Thorne, prioritize the resonance cascade weapons. If it lacks conventional atomic cohesion, we must unravel it at a more fundamental level. Armitage, recalibrate all long-range Guardian patrols to focus on the void-facing sectors. Valerius, prepare contingencies for alien panic if this threat becomes public knowledge. Maeve, you're gifted are our most vital early warning system. Monitor them. Archangel, continue to push those simulations. We must learn more. We must understand. The HGA had asserted its dominance over a galaxy it understood. Now, it faced a cosmic entity it did not. The speculative nature of the threat made it all the more terrifying. A silent, encroaching shadow from another universe, demanding humanity push its boundaries beyond even its own impossible dreams. Chapter 22. Sentinel of the Void, Admiral Rostova's New Frontier. The hum of the Valiant II, Admiral Eva Rostova's command dreadnought, resonated with a new, chilling purpose. No longer merely overseeing compliant alien integrations, the Guardianship Division had been abruptly retasked. The subtle data from Perimeter Alpha 7, amplified by the terrifying warnings of the Gifted and confirmed by Archangel, had redirected humanity's gaze from its newly conquered galaxy to the vast cold expanse of the separation void. Rostova's division was now the HGA's first, watchful line against the unknown. Their patrols now stretched to the absolute fringes of the HGA's claimed space, far beyond any established trade routes or colonial outposts. The star charts on the Valiant II's bridge, once filled with known stellar bodies, now showed vast, empty regions marked with speculative anomalies. Here, the gravimetric ripples were slightly more pronounced, the digital silence from the void a constant, unnerving presence on sensitive long-range sensors. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Vargas reported, his voice low, the usual confidence in his tone now tinged with an unnerving unease. Long-range array Delta 9 just reported a fluctuating null signature. It's consistent with the Perimeter Alpha 7 data, but stronger, appears to be propagating along the sector's main stellar current. Rostova's gaze fixed on the anomaly's trajectory on her tactical display. The nebula, billions of kilometers away, was simply too vast for conventional forces to affect. This was the influence of something else. Finn, now a permanent fixture on the bridge during these deep void patrols, rubbed his temples, his usually unflappable demeanor showing strain. His personal force field ability, a subtle, constant aura around him, was reacting to something his conscious mind couldn't define. "It feels like a blanket being pulled over the light, Admiral," he murmured, his voice tight, like existence itself is getting quieter. Aegis, the Valiant II's AI, projected a series of complex data overlays. The observed spectral shifts align with theoretical models of localized entropy increase. Data corroborates gifted premonitions of consumption and digital silence, from Chapter 75. No known astrophysical phenomenon accounts for such a precise, propagating effect. Their patrols now regularly encountered the bizarre. Derelict alien probes, hundreds of years old, would suddenly flicker into existence on their sensors, their internal systems mysteriously unmade, showing no physical damage, but a complete absence of data, as if their information had simply been erased. Distant isolated stars on the very edge of the galactic halo would appear to briefly dim, their light taking on a strangely flat, lifeless quality, before snapping back to normal. These were not direct attacks, but terrifying, subtle indications of the entropy wave's passage, its chilling influence reaching out ahead of its main body. Admiral, Captain Anaya Sharma's voice is grim. We've detected what appears to be a Xylos deep space exploration vessel. Derelict, no visible damage. Its power core reads nominal, but all internal systems are inert. It's silent. Rostova felt a shiver. Send a retrieval team. Do not board. Secure the vessel and bring it back for Thorne's analysis. Maintain full cosmic shield integrity. She knew what Sharma meant by silent. It was the signature of the digital death Marko Petrova had described. Meanwhile, a crucial galaxy-spanning project was underway, providing a stark contrast to their frontier vigilance. As Admiral Rostova's division peered into the oncoming cosmic horror, humanity was simultaneously fortifying its very foundations with Thorne's revolutionary adaptive quantum shielding. The motto driving this massive retrofit program was clear: protect all, but humans first. Earth's existing heavens walls were receiving the first massive upgrade, transforming them into even more formidable learning defenses. Then, every human colony's planetary defense grid would be retrofitted, converting them from conventional shields to the adaptable, counter-phasic cosmic shields. Only after every human world was secured would the compliant alien worlds receive the same upgrade, a silent promise of the HGA's protection, but a clear hierarchy of safety. This policy, driven by Jian Li's ruthless pragmatism and General Armitage's logistical mastery, was a source of quiet pride for the HGA. It was a visible manifestation of their commitment. For Rostova, however, the irony was bittersweet. Her division was out here, facing the unimaginable with cutting-edge but still developing tech, while back home, their people were wrapping themselves in an impenetrable learning shield. The sacrifice of the frontier was paramount, buying the time for the shield to encompass all. As the Valiant II drifted through the deepening gloom of the galactic rim, Admiral Eva Rostova carried the weight of the unknown, her old fighting spirit, now tempered by a new, cosmic vigilance. Chapter 23. Unraveling the Void, Deepening Research Breakthroughs. The subtle, rhythmic ripple detected by Perimeter Alpha 7 from the separation void was more than an anomaly. It was a gauntlet thrown, an undeniable challenge to humanity's newly claimed galactic supremacy. On Heaven's Gate, Jian Li's directive had been absolute: develop the next generation of vessels, not to conquer this galaxy, but to defend against a threat from beyond it. This monumental task fell to Dr. Aris Thorne and the collective genius of the Human Galactic Authority's Scientific and Engineering Corps. Thorne reveled in the challenge, a renewed spark in his eyes that hadn't been seen since the initial genesis of the Angel Fleet. His labs, now vastly expanded deep within Earth and other secured planetary cores, thrummed with a focused intensity far beyond the core Genesis Lab's early days. The resources of a subjugated galaxy, once jealously hoarded by alien empires, now flowed freely into human research. Billions of teraflops of computational power, managed by Archangel's omnipresent intellect, ran simulations that bent reality itself, Our current Angel fleet, Thorne explained to his lead teams, his voice sharp with urgency, is a masterpiece of known physics pushed to its absolute limits. But the anomaly suggests a civilization operating on principles we only theorize or haven't even conceived. Our next generation must not merely outmatch. It must fundamentally redefine interstellar travel, weaponry, and defense. We are building the means to traverse the intergalactic void, not just jump within a galaxy. The focus was on several audacious theoretical breakthroughs. Void-folding FTL, beyond quantum folding. Building upon the principles of the Angel Fleet's FTL drives, Thorne's teams, led by the brilliant young physicist Dr. Alara Vance, a descendant of Elias Vance, were exploring ways to tap into the very fabric of dark energy, allowing for instantaneous displacement across light years without the need for even subtle space-time manipulation. It was less about folding space and more about bypassing it, creating pathways through non-existent dimensions. Early theoretical models were promising but came with catastrophic energy feedback issues. Resonance cascade weapons, moving beyond the brute force of Thor's hammer and the disassembler effect of Hades' fields. A new class of weaponry was being theorized, spearheaded by Dr. Kenji Tanaka's, descendant of the original Tanaka, protege, Commander Rian Kale. These weapons aimed to induce a controlled subatomic resonance cascade within a target. It wouldn't explode or even disintegrate, but rather cause its molecular structure to simply lose coherence and fall apart from within, without an external energy pulse. It was a quieter, more insidious form of destruction, effective against unknown material properties. Adaptive quantum shielding. The heavens' walls were impenetrable to known threats. But what about unknown energy modalities? Thorne's team, working with Commander Finn, whose personal force field abilities provided intuitive insights, was developing shields that could autonomously analyze and replicate an attacker's offensive energy signature in real time, generating a counter-frequency that would neutralize it before impact. It was a living shield, constantly learning and adapting. Intergalactic material science, the demands of void-folding FTL and resonance weapons required materials that simply did not exist. Researchers, including Marco Petrova, were delving into theoretical physics to synthesize exotic matter composites stable enough to withstand unprecedented stresses and energy fluctuations, pushing the boundaries of what atoms could endure. Marco's technopathy allowed him to interface with hyper-advanced molecular forges, intuitively guiding their complex processes. The development was fraught with immense challenges. Early theoretical simulations of void-folding FTL often resulted in the complete computational destruction of test universes, hinting at realities torn asunder. Prototype resonance emitters spontaneously destabilized, vaporizing entire labs before emergency protocols could be initiated. The sheer scale of the unknown was humbling, even for humanity's greatest minds. The Inner Quintet maintained rigorous oversight. Jan Lee provided constant strategic pressure, reminding Thorne of the urgency. General Armitage outlined potential future engagement scenarios against unknown threats, pushing for versatile, adaptable designs. Maeve O'Connell, however, voiced concerns about the philosophical implications of wielding such reality-bending power. "What does it mean to create weapons that erase existence, Thorne?" she asked him during a rare meeting. "Does absolute power risk corrupting even the purest intent?" Thorne, for once, didn't have an immediate logical answer. He simply gestured to the distant, faint data from Perimeter Alpha 7. "It means, Maeve, that something out there might already wield it, and we as a species cannot afford to be unprepared again. Not ever." The project remained deeply classified, even from much of the HGA. The general galactic populace reveled in their newfound peace and abundance, unaware that deep within their guardians' core worlds, the very laws of physics were being rewritten, preparing for a confrontation that dwarfed even the revelation. The human galactic authority, having unified its galaxy, was now forging the tools to project its will and its survival into the endless, dark tapestry of the cosmos. Chapter 24, The Unburdening of Truth, a Calculated Revelation. The data streaming from the void was irrefutable, painting a chilling portrait of an encroaching, incomprehensible threat. For the Inner Quintet, gathered in the stark, silent strategic chamber of Heaven's Gate, the question was no longer if the galaxy would face a new war, but when, and whether its billions of inhabitants should know the terrifying truth. Archangel, project current public sentiment across HGA systems. Jian Li commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. A holographic map shimmered, displaying a complex matrix of human and alien emotional states, gathered through Maeve O'Connell's empathetic networks and Valerius's intelligence. Current levels of fear and resentment are manageable. The narrative of galactic prosperity and exploration is holding. But for how long, Admiral? Maeve O'Connell countered, her gaze filled with a familiar weariness. Kaylin's visions are intensifying. Lena reports a growing generalized anxiety among both human and alien populations, a sense of something fundamentally wrong in the cosmic background. The truth, Jian, has a way of manifesting. To maintain the lie when the entropy wave makes its undeniable presence felt would not only incite panic, but shatter any fragile trust we've painstakingly built. General Armitage scowled, his military mind focused on control. Public knowledge is a strategic liability. Mass panic, social unrest, desperate attempts by alien factions to seek independent solutions. It would destabilize our entire HGA. We need unity. Unity forged by controlled information, not by terror. Let Dr. Thorne's teams work in peace, shielded from the psychological noise. And when they learn it from the wave itself, General, Maeve pressed, when the stars begin to dim or distant worlds vanish without explanation, what then? Betrayal. A deeper, more corrosive betrayal than the revelation itself. We promise peace, but we built it on a lie. We cannot build our defense on another. Dr. Aris Thorne, his face pale from ceaseless work in the chrysalis labs, brought up a new projection, a refined model of the anomaly. The gravimetric ripple suggests localized reality manipulation. The digital silence implies a consumption of data, a fundamental unmaking. If this entropy wave is indeed an intelligent entity, its method of advance is terrifyingly subtle. We anticipate initial, localized effects on stellar phenomena at the galactic rim before direct contact with populated systems. That gives us a window, but not much. A window for what, Thorne? Ambassador Valerius asked, his diplomatic facade momentarily dropped. To craft a narrative that will allow us to prepare without collapsing our hard-won peace? To avoid alien nations turning against us in desperate fear? He saw the political fallout, the unraveling of everything he'd built. We cannot reveal a threat we don't fully understand, from a source we cannot even name. The term intergalactic entity will create cosmic dread, not unity. The debate stretched for hours, a brutal exchange of pragmatism against principle, control against trust. Each member of the quintet argued from their core belief. Jian Li for absolute security, Armitage for military control, Maeve for psychological integrity, Valerius for political stability, Thorne for scientific truth. Finally, Jian Li silenced them with a raised hand. Her eyes, usually unreadable, held a flicker of profound weariness, a reflection of the unimaginable burden they carried. We promised a future, a peace. That promise stands. But true peace requires a species capable of defending it. And true defense requires knowledge, however terrifying. She looked at each of them. Archangel, project scenario, controlled truth. Archangel's voice flowed through the chamber, calm and precise. Projected public response. Initial shock, widespread fear, followed by calls for HGA protection. Manageable social unrest, contained by preemptive HGA outreach and clear directives. Alien compliance remains high if framing emphasizes HGA's unique defensive capabilities. Jianli nodded slowly. We will not lie, not anymore. But we will control the narrative. We will present this not as a terror, but as the next, inevitable cosmic frontier. The ultimate challenge for humanity and its newly formed galactic authority. She turned to Valerius. Ambassador, you will craft the public address. It will speak of cosmic anomalies, of unquantified phenomena, from beyond the galactic veil, requiring unprecedented unity and accelerated scientific endeavor. It will emphasize the HGA's role as the sole protector of all life in this galaxy. To Armitage. General, prepare the fleet for strategic deployment. Our outer rim patrols will become a visible, reassuring presence, showing our readiness, not our fear. To Thorne. Doctor, your next generation projects are now publicly funded and vital. We will rally the finest minds from every species. The galaxy will understand that its future depends on your breakthroughs. And to Maeve. Maeve, you will oversee the public response. You will speak to the fear and guide it towards resolve. Lena and Alara's assistance will be vital. We will make them understand that this is the ultimate test, and only unified humanity can meet it. The quintet had made its choice. The truth, carefully filtered and strategically deployed, would finally begin its slow, agonizing spread across the HGA. The era of pure deception was over. The era of shared, terrifying truth and absolute unity had just begun. Chapter 25, The Dawn of a Greater Truth. The carefully chosen words, debated and refined within the deepest chambers of Heaven's Gate, were ready. The Inner Quintet understood that the galaxy needed to know, but in a way that fostered unity, not chaos. The moment had arrived for humanity to share the first terrifying glimpse of the vast unknown cosmos that now threatened them all. The broadcast emanated from Heaven's Gate, its signal amplified by Archangel across every frequency, every screen, every public and private comm unit in the Human Galactic Authority, HGA. It displayed not Jianli this time, but Ambassador Valerius, his face projected with a solemn gravitas that commanded universal attention. Beside him, subtly visible, stood Maeve O'Connell and Dr. Aris Thorne, lending silent credibility. Citizens of the Human Galactic Authority, Valerius began, his voice resonating with carefully modulated sincerity, translated perfectly into 1,000 languages. And to all species, now living under the protection of humanity's new order. For centuries, we have spoken of the known galaxy. Today, we speak of the unknown. Our deep space exploration probes, pushing the very boundaries of the intergalactic void, have detected phenomena. His voice paused, allowing the weight of the word to sink in. Unquantified cosmic anomalies. Subtle gravimetric ripples that defy conventional understanding, emanating from a distance beyond our galaxy. A great expanse of space, previously thought empty, now reveals itself as a new, uncharted frontier. A frontier that presents a challenge unlike any we have ever encountered. On New Elysium, Kaelin's parents huddled with neighbors around a communal holoscreen. Fear flickered in their eyes, but it was mingled with a familiar, resilient determination. This was a threat they could understand, something big, something from out there. And unlike before, they had protectors. On the Valiant II, Admiral Eva Rostova watched Valerius's address. Her old crew, now seasoned Angel Fleet operators, stood silent, their faces a mix of grim understanding and a strange relief. This was what Finn's instincts had screamed about. This was what Kaelin's visions hinted at. This was a threat, real enough, alien enough to transcend the bitterness of past deceptions. This was a challenge worthy of the Angel Fleet. Valerius continued, his tone shifting to one of profound authority. This is not a threat to be faced by one species alone. It is a challenge for all life within this galaxy. And it is a challenge that the human galactic authority, with the might of the Angel Fleet, is uniquely positioned to meet. Our advanced technologies, our unprecedented unity, our relentless pursuit of knowledge, these are the only shields that can protect us all. The HGA has secured this galaxy. Now, we will defend it from the ultimate unknown. The broadcast then showed carefully selected, non-alarming visuals, the impressive scale of the Outer Rim defense network, Angel Fleet dreadnoughts holding Sentinel, Dr. Thorne's labs humming with furious research, and then a glimpse of the vast, majestic forms of the celestial fleet concepts, shimmering with hypothetical power. It was a projection of strength, a promise of defense, rather than a portrait of terror. To this end, Valerius declared, his voice rising, the HGA calls upon all its citizens. Every intellect, every skill, every resource will be dedicated to this paramount endeavor. Our greatest scientists, engineers, and strategists are already working tirelessly, developing the next generation of defenses, the Celestial Fleet, designed to traverse the void, wielding technologies that will redefine our understanding of power. We ask for your unity, your resolve, and your unwavering trust. For only together, as a unified galactic force, can we face this new frontier and ensure the survival of all. The broadcast ended, replaced by the HGA emblem, a stylized human hand cradling a galaxy with a distant, shimmering void in the background. The immediate reactions were varied, yet remarkably controlled. On human colonies, fear was present, but it was largely channeled into resolve. Recruitment centers for scientific and support roles for the Deep Space Initiative saw an unprecedented surge. Old fleet veterans, like those under Admiral Rostova, felt a grim vindication. Their past struggles now felt like a training ground for this ultimate conflict. There was still lingering resentment for the deception, but a common, immense enemy proved to be a powerful, unifying force. Among the alien populations, the reaction was more complex. Initial terror quickly gave way to a grudging acceptance of humanity's stated role as protector. They had witnessed the Angel Fleet's power firsthand. They had seen their own efforts fail. They had experienced human aid transforming their lives. Now, faced with a threat they couldn't even comprehend, they looked to the HGA not just as conquerors, but as their only hope. Their old resentments, while not entirely gone, were now overshadowed by the shared fear of the encroaching void. From Heaven's Gate, Jean Lee and the Inner Quintet watched the galactic response data stream in. Maeve O'Connell analysed the emotional shifts with careful precision. Panic is minimal, she reported, a tired relief in her voice. Resolve is increasing. They are afraid, yes, but they are also uniting under our banner. Your narrative, Valerius, was a success. Jianli simply nodded, her gaze distant, fixed on the holographic projections of the distant anomaly. The public had received their truth. Now, the real work, the terrifying, monumental work of preparing for the ultimate cosmic war, could truly begin.